everyone and welcome to the next episode of E-Wheeler Finland. Just picked up this beauty, the new little electric Citigo, for a test drive. Please join me while I explain the differences between the petrol and this one. This time we have the electric version. We have been test driving it only for an hour or so. And as you can probably see, this is the cheaper version. It comes with the same 14-inch wheels as our car. It's actually really good because it gives you an idea of the noise level. You have exactly the same tires, exactly the same rims. The car is just equipped a little bit less. It's lacking like electric mirrors and etc. I will just go through some of the statistics of the car first, so you know what we are dealing with. So I'll have to cheat because my memory is not so good. So the factory claims 265 kilometers of WLTP range, and in urban conditions it should be able to do something like 340 kilometers on full charge. 61 kilowatt, 212 newton meters of torque. So it has plenty of torque and I can vouch for that, it goes really nicely. 12.3 seconds from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour. That's roughly the same as in the petrol version, there's not a big difference. The top speed of this car is limited to 130 kilometers an hour, but in reality it's plenty for this car and it's enough for most of the countries in Europe. You only miss higher speeds in like German autobahns or somewhere like that. But in normal driving, it's plenty. Now, the interesting thing that I found out when I was doing the interview with the salesperson was that the old petrol version, it weighed 930 kilos, give or take. And the new one, this electric version, it's 1,250 kilos. The gross weight, the old one, the maximum weight was 1,330 kilos, and this new one is 1,530. So it's more than 100 kilos less that you can put load on the car, which is surprising because basically on the petrol version you could have 4 people inside and all the luggage. And on this car you need to compromise. It's either 4 people or 3 people and luggage. That sounds crazy, but of course if you have children in the rear seat, then it works better because children are lighter and then the gross weight is not exceeded. 4 adult people with luggage, it's like pushing it already. Air resistance on this car is better because they have closed the front of the car. So it's a little bit better. The petrol version, the coefficient factor was 0.338, on the electric version is 0.325. It's not a big difference, but there's a little bit of difference there. What is good is the ground clearance. The petrol version, it only had 12 centimeters of ground clearance, and this electric version, it has 14 centimeters. So you don't have to be so worried about hitting something with the bottom. And it also makes it a lot less nerve-wracking to drive on small roads like going into your summer cottage or something like that. Now, as far as the battery of this car, there has been some confusion because a lot of the car magazines, etc., when they are testing this car, they all give different readings for the battery. But I can explain that because the battery in this car, the gross capacity of it is 36.8 kilowatt hours and the net usable capacity, that is only 32.3 kilowatt hours. But it's actually quite good because it's already 1 kilowatt hour more than you get from the outgoing e-Golf. The e-Golf has a gross capacity of 35.8 kilowatt hours, so a kilowatt hour less. So this gets more capacity and more range than the e-Golf. The battery construction is interesting. This car has 168 cells in 2 strings of 84. The nominal voltage of the battery is 311 volts. The factory claims that the full voltage of the battery pack is 357 volts, but that would mean a cell voltage of 4.25 volts, and everyone who knows anything about lithium-ion batteries knows that that is too high. Batteries should never reach that voltage. Now in Finland, this car comes equipped with the Mode 2 3-pin external charging adapter and also a Type 2 charging cable. Every car in Finland is equipped with the CCS fast charge. In Finland, when you buy this car, you don't have to think about the charging. Obviously, things are a little bit different if you are in another country, because when I've been looking at the specs across EU, in some countries you have to pay extra to get the CCS, but that's not the case in Finland. Mode 3 is for 8 to 10 amp charging, so it only allows like 2.3 kilowatt. The Type 2 cable in this car, because this has 7.2 kilowatt onboard charger for the Type 2, so it allows for two-phase 16 amp charging where available, and the CCS allows 40 kilowatt fast charging, so you can in theory charge this car really quickly. We don't have enough time to keep this car in test drive, so we can test how fast it charges in different capacities. But I will be doing that test later with our own car. When we have plenty of time and we can do longer trips, we can test the battery and how it charges. Now the price in Finland for this car, this cheaper version, is 17,390 euros after government grant, and the better style version is 18,950 euros. So in Finland this car is actually really cheap. Biggest differences in style compared to the Ambition model that we have here is that the style version has heated windscreen, electrically adjusted and heated side mirrors that this car doesn't have, and you can't even buy them as an option. And you can't even buy the heated windscreen on this car, so it's a lot that you are giving up if you buy the Ambition version. Style version, it has 16-inch alloys as standard in Finland. This one has 14-inch, and the standard version has steel rims. This one has alloys, but this is option. Also the style gets cruise control and rain sensor for the wipers, and also auto headlights. But that is something that you can actually buy for the cheaper car, and this particular test drive version, this one has it. It's a 260 euro option to buy the cruise control and the auto headlights and the rain sensor, so it's not really that expensive. Biggest problem is that if you buy the Ambition, you will lose all the necessary equipment that you really should have on every car in Finland also. Like the heated windscreen, the electric mirrors, front seat height adjustment, that doesn't come as standard on the lower spec. You don't get cruise control. Price difference between the two models, it's so small that I would not recommend buying the Ambition in Finland, because you get so much more equipment in the style and the price difference is small. Now, as for the colors, this one has the optional metallic blue. It costs extra, 690 euros. The only color that costs nothing extra is the sunflower yellow. Three other basic colors, the kiwi green, the tornado red and candy white, they all cost extra, 260 euros. Someone has been asking me questions about a lot of things on this car, like the charging flap. Is it a problem in the winter? Of course we can't say yet because it's not freezing at the moment. But it might be freezing in the winter. We will be doing a review on that also next winter with our own car. And also I will be doing some video on the app and how to use the mobile app on this car, how you can check the charging status and everything. But yeah, let's look at the interior of the car. So, like I explained already in the previous video, the dashboard and everything inside is pretty much the same. There's like no big difference in the car. And this one doesn't have the folding front seats, so it's a little bit more sparse when it comes to equipment. The basic chassis and all the seats and everything, that is the same as in the petrol version. So the biggest difference is the automatic climate control, which is in the both versions, Ambition and Style. And that's for energy reasons. It gives them the possibility, the computer, to adjust the energy levels. And also you have the automatic gear shift lever. which I will explain later. Now inside the engine compartment there is not a lot to see. The electric motor has been actually mounted in the same mounts as the original petrol engine, so it's like really you can easily tell that the car has been converted from a petrol version. But it's really tidy. There's nothing here that like strikes your eye as out of place or something like that, so it's very well executed. I like this because it's simple and everything that you need to address, like window washer fluid and everything that you need to check, is in the same place as in the petrol version. It's really easy to use. Okay, now from the rear, the main differences to the petrol version are this new emblem that is white, and then you can see the small green E, which is for the electric, and then there's the IV. As for the luggage compartment, it's exactly the same as in the petrol version. This one doesn't have the variable boot space, so it doesn't have the false bottom here. In the style version that we ordered, we have the false bottom, so that's a 70 euro option. But it's really worth taking because it will enable you to keep all the things that you don't need every day. You can keep them underneath the false bottom. So it's an option that you really want to take. As for the interior, I will just show you some of the highlights. So as I explained on the previous clip, there is an automatic gearbox gear shifter on this car. It's obviously it doesn't have a gearbox at all. It just has a reduction gear, but it doesn't have a gearbox. It has all the same positions for the gear lever as you get in an automatic car. But the biggest difference that I will show you is when you need to start the car like a conventional car. So you depress the brake, then you start it. And when it says ready in the display, that's when you are ready to drive. Now the gauge on the right, it tells you how much capacity you have in the battery still left, how much charge, the charge level. In the left hand corner you have basically the power gauge. So it shows you how much power you are using and how much power you are gaining when you are doing the regen. So I already tested that works really nicely. The maxi dot display that you can see there in the center of the gauges shows you the available range, distance driven, basically everything else is the same as in the petrol version. Just the power consumption, average consumption, available power and range, those are converted into electric terms. The automatic climate control is really easy to use. Same as in every Volkswagen basically, there's like no difference. The radio itself is the same as we have on the petrol version. There's no difference in how it operates. You have the multifunction steering wheel. This only has the phone and radio controls, basically nothing else. You also get a switch that enables you to open the locking of the charging cable, but this is actually not needed basically because when you use the central locking of the car, it also unlocks and locks the charging cable into the car. So like in almost every electric car that I know, it works the same way. As far as the gear shifter, it has all the standard positions of a normal automatic gearbox. But then it also has the regen function, which I will show you. So when you engage drive, you can use left and right motion to adjust the level of regen. And the annoying thing about this is that when you turn off the car, the ignition, and you take away the key, it loses the setting for the regen. So you need to set it every time. And that is really annoying. It doesn't have a default setting. And if you want to have the maximum regen, you pull once back, you engage the B mode. It's recuperation stage 4. and that gives you one pedal driving in this car. But other than that, it's really easy. As for the rear seat, there has been some confusion also. There's some reporters and car magazines that have been claiming that the electric version has a higher seating position in the rear than the petrol version. But this is not the case actually, because the measurements, the seat height from the seat to the ceiling, it's exactly the same. There's no difference between this and the petrol version. Also the footwell is in the same height. So it's only a rumor. The battery is partially underneath the rear seat, but that means nothing to the seating height. The seating height is exactly the same. All the interior space in this car is exactly the same as in the petrol one. You are not compromising anything. The car itself is super quiet. I was amazed because I know that electric cars are quiet. I have driven an electric car before also, but I was still amazed because this is so low price car that you would never expect it to be so quiet as it is. This is like super quiet. And I will show you the acceleration here. It's like really brutal. It's actually going to the traction control when you're accelerating. When it's wet and it's raining, it's using traction control already. The tire noise is exactly the same as in the petrol version, so this gives you a really good idea of the noise level. I will just be quiet for a while and let you listen. Super nice and quiet. I really like this, and even though this is not actually a rocket ship when it comes to performance, but it is really fast enough. It doesn't need any more power. For controlling the car remotely, it has the function to view the battery status, if the charging plug is unplugged or plugged. You can also see where the car is parked, all the air conditioning settings. You can schedule a heating function for the next morning. And then when you scroll down, there's also driving data, so you can have all the data from the car remotely. You can see if the vehicle is locked, doors are closed or open. So really basic. Also you can see the location of the car. This can be handy if you don't remember where you parked. So you can use it to locate your car. Okay, so I tried the cold car in the morning. The Citigo IV seems to be a really good car even in the cold mornings. You don't have to preheat it if you don't want to, especially if it's not freezing outside. Because when you put the car on, even in like 15 seconds to 30 seconds when you put the heater on, you already get hot air inside, so it's really fast. And the air conditioning works very well. And what is funny is that in many EVs, when the car is really cold, like 0, and it's been standing overnight, you don't get much regen in the beginning when you leave from home. But this car, it has really good regen even from the cold start, so I will be so thrilled if that works really well on our car when the weather gets even colder. But I'm really impressed and it's so smooth. All the power delivery, there is no hiccups, there's nothing, it's super smooth. So I would have imagined that it's not a smooth experience as in the more higher end cars, but apparently when it comes to electric drivetrain, even in the cheapest cars you get excellent comfort, excellent smoothness. So overall, my experience from the Citigo IV, it's really positive. But you really don't want to have the cheapest version if you don't want to adjust mirrors manually or something else. So the price difference really is so small in the style, so I would highly recommend the style, at least in Finland. In the Ambition model you are losing a lot of equipment. One thing I wanted to share you, because we tried the Type 2 charging a few times with this car last night, and once we had a problem with unlocking the charging cable plug from the car because it's controlled by the central locking of the car. For some reason, on one attempt, just one attempt, it didn't unlock. We had to relock the car using the key fob and then unlock it again to get the plug free from the car. I don't know if that is like common, but it happened once and we tried like 4 or 5 times to charge this car. So it might be an issue later if it happens a lot, maybe not. I just wanted to be straightforward with that. This has been the second edition of our eWheeler Finland. We hope that we told you everything that you wanted to know about the electric Citigo, but if you have any questions, if I can answer, you just leave comments. Thank you for watching and welcome back next time.